Good morning. We're discussing fracking today, the process by which it's possible to extract gas from underground that was previously unobtainable. It's great, isn't it, in terms of energy security, being able to provide our own source of energy, and what we've been told earlier about prices. It could mean that household gas prices could stabilise. That would be good for everyone, wouldn't it? Well, you are, it seems, in your numbers, opposed to the practice. Many of you coming up with alternatives, including wave energy and anaerobic digesters. Few of you prepared for this fracking to go ahead in Wales, certainly not in your part of the country. Why not? 03700 100 110. When we face a future in which 80% of our gas will be provided by other nations by 2030. Now, that's not a safe position to be in at all, is it? That's not a desirable position. What if we have difficulties in getting supply from elsewhere? What if countries decide that we're not paying enough, or we fall out with them? 03700 100 110. That's one thing, security, and the other, of course, is price. And so many people complaining these days about the costs of gas and heating their homes. This could solve it. It has in the United States. So why not get on with it? 03700 100 110. Here's Graham in Pontypridd, also joined by Keith Ross, spokesman for Safe Energy and Frack-Free Wales. Good morning to both of you. Hello again, Keith. Hi there. Graham, what do you think? Are you behind this?
No. I'm absolutely, totally opposed to this, Oliver.
Why?
I mean, when you look at the internet, for instance, and you see what's been happening in America, and people are actually able, this is absolutely bizarre, but they can set light to their tap water. Because what happens is that the gas enters the water table, and it dissolves in the water, and they can actually turn their tap on. It's all over YouTube, anybody can see it. They can turn their tap on and set light to their own tap water.
Do you know how much
say it's safe.
Do you know how much they pay for their gas in the United States, though?
Well, I have no idea, but I would much prefer to pay more for my gas and be safe when I turn my tap on than not be safe. And I mean, you see, once it starts to leach into the water table, you can't repair it. You can't send a man down that shaft with a trowel and some plaster to sort of seal the holes. It's there permanently. I mean, we're talking about millions of years of bioevolution here that has stopped this leaching, and we don't drink contaminated water, but we run the risk of doing exactly that. And the second thing is that, let's face it, Ollie, this is not about creating jobs. This is not about securing supply. This is about making money. It's about money. And it's money not for the people. I was very interested in one of your earlier callers saying that people are sort of raping the earth, and they are. We are hollowing out the earth in one way or another for the sake of profit.
But we did that, didn't we do that for generations in Wales? It's what made this country great.
Carboniferous capitalism, they called it, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yes, we did. We actually hollowed out the earth as far as coal is concerned.
And look at all these people that phone in often to this programme complaining that nothing's been put in place after the coal industry went, and there are communities that have been devastated by the loss of coal mining.
Yeah.
Well, this industry could bring those jobs back, couldn't it?
Absolutely right, but what's the matter with going for renewables rather than that? Why not? Why can't we go for solar power? And I mean, the technology advances in solar power now are huge. They're enormous. And again, we're not going to stabilise prices, because this was the song that was sung when competition was introduced into the energy market. It was going to get cheaper. It was going to stabilise prices, and it never has. It never has. Because want to make money.
I'll answer my own question, which I asked you, didn't I? What they pay for natural gas in America. It's a third of the price of what it is here, and that's largely down to the fact that they've accepted fracking.
Oh, they haven't accepted it. That's not true. I mean, there are huge demonstrations in America against fracking, and that's why people keep posting these videos on YouTube, actually showing them lighting their own tap water. And yet the companies are saying, no, perfectly safe. There's nothing wrong with that. What? I mean, this is madness. This is lunacy, all for the sake of profit. And that's what it's about. It's not about anything else. It's not about securing supply or stabilising prices. It's about people at the top, fat cats, who are willing to invest in this sort of this venture, making money. does.
Keith, what do you know about people being able to set fire to the water coming out of their taps?
I've never seen it myself, but I have seen the stuff on YouTube that Graham is talking about, and also the film, I forgot the name of the film, anyway, the film that shows it quite graphically. But on that point, I would say, coming out to something Ken Cronin said earlier, that no amount of regulation or of memorandums of understanding between the industry and the water companies can stop gas and contaminated water from percolating through the surrounding strata and finding its way into aquifers and watercourses. That's what fluids do. They percolate. They go out. They travel. But I mean, there's been a lot of good points made by the callers. They've basically done my job for me. But I noticed that some of the statements you're making, Oliver, are red herrings, and I assume this is information you've got from elsewhere. You're talking about prices. The industry is now talking about stabilising gas prices. Until a few months ago, they were talking about reducing gas prices until the opponents of this process blew a hole in that argument. So now they're talking about, it won't reduce our prices, but it'll keep them where it is.
That would help, wouldn't it?
It might, if it works, it might help, but I doubt very much that it will work. You talked about prices in the UK gas prices being a third of, USA gas prices being a third of those in the UK. All prices in the USA are lower than those in the UK because of the size of their market. We just simply do not have the market that they have. And the difference between the markets is very important because, as I mentioned in your news report earlier, this gas will not necessarily be used in the UK. It will be exported. EU regulations dictate that it must be placed on the open market. So the gas will be sold to the highest bidder, and those bidders are going to be bidding against other sources of gas which have higher prices.
Keith, stay with us. Thank you to Graham, by the way. But Tony Bosworth, who's an energy campaigner from Friends of the Earth, joined us as well. Morning, Tony.
Good morning.
Do you feel you're winning this argument?
I think we're slowly winning it, yes. I mean, there are still some places, some people who seem to have bought into the industry hype and believe that shale gas can do pretty much anything for us. But I think that people in local communities, people at the local level, haven't bought into this at all. They don't see that shale gas is the answer. They're concerned about the local environmental problems. And I think the industry and politicians have got a huge amount to do to convince the British public that this is the answer.
And Rhys is with us in Aberdeen. Hi, Rhys.
Hello there.
Hi there, Rhys. Go ahead. What do you think? You're speaking to Tony Bosworth from Friends of the Earth, by the way.
Well, this is the problem we got with the people in the UK. They don't mind where their energy comes from as long as it's not in my backyard, right? So I spend most of my life in the oil and gas, working overseas in different parts of the world, and the gas industry is a very caring industry. It doesn't go out there to create problems for neighbours or people. Now, I'll give you a good example. Along the South Wales coast, we get a cargo of crude that comes in from a field in Africa, right? These fields had to be drilled, the well pads had to be made, and I was responsible for getting them made. Now, nobody checks in Tesco's or the power station or the fuel station, is this being from a place where it's not upset anybody? They don't even ask that. Providing the light can go on, fuel in their cars, and gas for Sunday, they're happy. Now they've got to do something, everybody's up in arms. And the guy talking about chemicals, well, that's a load of old rubbish. Sure, they use chemicals. We used to test the wells, the water wells that people use. We had no instance where the chemicals were contaminating the water. And we've gone down so deeply, it's not possible. It's just another bunch of folks complaining and objecting to something that we are desperately in need of.
Stay where you are, Rhys. I want to put this to Tony Bosworth. The fact is, isn't it, that we are, whether you support renewables or not, and many people do, that we're going to need fossil fuels from somewhere, in the short term, the medium term, and is it not more responsible to do it ourselves, rather than, as Rhys puts it, to put all the downsides onto some other nation elsewhere, which is out of sight and out of mind, Tony?
Of course we're going to need some fossil fuels, but the key thing is to reduce the amount of fossil fuels that we need. We're going to need fossil fuels, we're going to need gas to top up when renewables can't quite make all the electricity we need out until maybe 2030. But the key thing to do is to be cutting down on the amount of gas we need. And we've already got far more gas in the world than we can afford to burn, that we know about already. So what's the point in trying to find a load more? And yes, of course, we have to raise standards across the world in fossil fuel extraction, but us just producing more fossil fuels is just going to, according to the government's climate change experts, us producing more fossil fuels is just going to mean more climate change, and that's going to cause huge problems for people worldwide.
Tony, thank you. I know you've got to go. That's Tony Bosworth from Friends of the Earth. But Rhys, how would you feel if they decided to start fracking near Aberdare?
No problem at all. And well, first of all, you're going to bring a few jobs, and if they get a huge quantity of gas out of it, it'll go into the grid. He's right about the open market, but the government could stop that. They could just, they could pencil that in for sort of non-export or whatever the case is, right? And these are the problems that we got. You've got to think ahead, check how much gas is there, see if it's commercially viable at, the cost of drilling plus 10% or whatever, and then work it out what is cheapest, But after that, then you've got cargoes coming in from Ghana to West Wales, you've got crude oil coming into West Wales, and you've got it coming in from Russia and a few other spots on the continent. If we got it ourselves, we should go out there and we should just drill away and find out what we can do and get on with it.
Rhys, thank you very much. That's Rhys in Aberdare, 3700 100 110. Do you agree with him? Just get on with it. We're talking about fracking this morning. We'll return to the conversation after Jason tells us what's happening at